afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching our Speak You on Bloomberg Quint Live. I'm Navneet Saluja D'Souza.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Well, this is the perfect show for you. We've got queries on equity, so do send them in to us on Twitter, Facebook, and also on WhatsApp. You can call us as well on 022-454-04141, or you can mail us at askbq@bloombergquint.com. Just make sure to add the AskBQ hashtag.
All right, but before we get to the individual queries on the show today, let's take a look as to what's happening with the markets. Well, the positive run continues. You've got Nifty, which is inching very closer to that mark of 10,900, currently sitting around that mark of 10,870. 100 points gain, or rather 120 points gain coming in for Sensex. Bank Nifty also doing well. That's up nearly 100 points. That is trading above the mark of 26,700. What's auguring well for this market is the declining India Volatility Index, which is a good sign, and also we've seen the Nifty PCR also going up on back of higher put writing in the past few trading sessions. But the broader markets are also doing well. So if you could just pull up Nifty Mid Cap Small Cap Index sitting with some bit of gains, pull up the advanced decline ratio as well. That gives you a better picture of the listed universe on the NSE. So good going with regard to the market breadth. That's in positive. 3:2 is what we're seeing on screen. Pull up the Nifty contributors chart. That's going to tell you which are the stocks which are contributing. So the top two are the heavyweights, and both of them from the ID pack. TCS is up on back of that news of considering buyback on June 15. The board meets that day. Infi is also up. ICICI Bank and Axis Bank are also up in trade. What's dragging, or rather what's capping the moves on the upside, are HDFC Twins for the day, and also HUL, after touching its lifetime high levels yesterday, is witnessing some bit of profit booking in today's trading session. In terms of top sectoral indices today, which are gaining, well, once again, Nifty Pharma Index, this is the sixth straight day of gains. IT is doing well on back of TCS and Infi. Nifty PSU Banking Index is also up 1.5%. But I want to highlight a couple of pharma gainers because we've seen good traction in the last 6 trading sessions. So Dr. Reddy's, that's up 4%. Cadila Healthcare is also seeing gains of almost 4%. You've got something like Cipla and Lupin. In fact, they too are one of the top gainers on Nifty in today's trading session. So Cipla, Lupin both seeing gains of between 2.5 to almost 3.5%. From the broader universe, couple of gainers. Jubilant Industries has been locked in upper circuit with gains of 20%. Ad Labs now also locked in upper circuit now with gains of 20%. And you've got the innerwear stocks which are doing well after the deal of Page Industries, where they've signed an agreement with Jockey which extends now till 2040. So Lovable Lingerie up 8.5%. Something like TT Limited, I guess, that too has gone up in today's trading session. So watch out for the entire space. Whereas on the losing side, you've got Idea, Usha Martin, and stocks like CG Power from the F&O side, which are seeing some bit of correction. Usha Martin is down 9.5%. Idea is seeing some selling pressure today. That's your top F&O loser too for the day. So that's down nearly 5%, Alex.
All right, we've got a few people already asking questions, so let's take them. Before we do, though, let's get our 2 experts on the show. Sameet Chavan of Angel Broking and Vikas Sethi of Sethi Finmart are here to answer all of your queries on the show today. We've got a specific question from Parveen Gulati, who writes to us on WhatsApp. He's Sameet, he's a big fan of yours, and he's directed us to ask a question to you. He's holding 500 shares of NCC at 114 rupees per share and 500 shares of Marico at 345 rupees per share. That's his buy price. He's asking whether he can expect a technical breakout on the upside on either of these two or both of them.
See, in case of NCC, clearly the stock is in a consolidation mode since last 4 to 5 months. If I have to see any particular level, 120, 121, these are the next levels to watch out for. If this stock manages to surpass those levels and sustains above that, then yes, we can term it as a technical breakout, and in that scenario, the stock can head towards 130, 132. But as of now, there are no signs, so I would rather wait for this development to happen. I would wait for this breakout to happen beyond 120. As of now, the stock is likely to consolidate, wherein on the lower side, 105, 100 would act as a very strong support. As far as Marico is concerned, recently there was a breakout seen in this particular counter from its previous hurdle of 330, and if I look at the volume activity, it has picked up substantially over the past 2 to 3 weeks. So that clearly indicates this stock has a good buying interest, and Any minor dip probably from current level towards 335, 334 would be a good buying opportunity. And in the near term, we would expect Marico to continue this northward trajectory at least toward 355, 358.
Okay, that's the view coming in on Marico. The stock's up almost 10% in the last 3 months at least. Remember, in terms of earnings as well from the entire FMCG pack, this is the stock which has been underperforming. But going ahead from these current levels, the analysts are quite bullish because the copra prices seems to have come off the highs that we've seen in the recent past. So 340 for Marico. Let's take our next query on KNR Construction. This one comes from Facebook. Satyasubash has written to us. He's asking at what price can he enter KNR Construction, and he does have a long-term view on this one. So Vikas, I'm going to come to you. If you track KNR, the stock's down 1.5% in today's session. Even on year-to-date basis, we've seen correction of nearly 14 to 15%. Do you think this is the right level for somebody to take a long-term position? And if you don't like this stock within the same sector, if you could advise something else to our viewer.
Good afternoon, Navneet. Now, as far as KNR Construction is concerned, it's a good quality company, although the stock has not done much in the last year or so, but then that has been the case with most of the infra stocks, and in the recent carnage which was witnessed in mid caps and small caps, the stock is also corrected. But I feel at the current levels, this could be bought into fundamentally a good stock, and I think with the kind of focus which the government has on infrastructure, this would be a good bet to ride on, provided the investor has a long-term point of view. Since the investor has asked from a long-term point of view, I think it would be the right level to buy into the stock.
All right, that's a view coming in on Satya Subhash's question on KNR Constructions. Let's take another question. Shiva Sundar is writing to us on WhatsApp. He wants to invest in Raymond. Actually, he's got a few stocks that he wants to invest in. Raymond, Laurus Labs and Puravankara with a 3-year view. He's asking for advice as to which to invest in. Vikas, what's the view here? He's named 3 stocks. I'll repeat them for you. Raymond, Laurus Labs and Puravankara. 3-year view.
Yeah, Alex, as far as Raymond is concerned, I like the stock. The stock has corrected from its recent highs. Textile stocks are doing well, and then there is a positive trigger in Raymond in the form of the huge land bank which it owns in Thane, which the board has already given approval for the development of that land. And as and when that materializes, I think we should see some good bounce back in the stock. So I'm bullish on Raymond at the current levels of 1,000 rupees. It looks good, and I have a target of around 1,300 rupees in a year. So you can buy into Raymond at the current levels. The second stock was Laurus Labs. Again, pharma stock. Pharma has been the flavor of the season. Today, most of the pharma stocks are up, and I think with the kind of developments which are taking place, the kind of clearances which are being given to pharma companies by the US FDA. Today, we got Sun Pharma, their Halol plant was cleared, and I think pharma as a space from a year point of view looks pretty good. And Laurus Labs, since it's a good company, and recently the promoters have also increased their stake in the company, which instills confidence in the company. So I would recommend a buy on even Laurus Labs at the current levels. And the third stock which you want to invest in, Puravankara, that is no. I do not think in the real estate space one should be buying into Puravankara. I think there are better stocks in the real estate space which he could look at. I like a Soba Developer or a Suntech Realty or an Ajmera Realty from the space if he wants to invest into real estate stocks. And I think he could choose one among the 3 stocks which I've recommended and hold them for 1 to 2 years, and that should give him substantial returns from the current levels.
Okay, so that's the fundamental view coming in on a whole host of stocks. But let's move on and take some more queries. We've got a live caller with us. Miss S. Chatterjee calls us from Kolkata. Hi, Miss Chatterjee. Good afternoon to you, and thanks a lot for calling us. Tell us what's your query on.
Thank you. Yeah, ma'am, I have queries about 2 stocks, Bajaj Finance Limited and Avanti, and I have a buy option. I want to know the prospect of these 2 stocks and at what price may I enter the market.
Okay, ma'am, just a clarity. Have you entered these stocks, or you're looking to enter?
No, I want to enter the market.
Okay, you want to enter the market. Do you have do you have an existing portfolio?
Yeah, I have existing portfolio.
Okay, so you want to take you want to add stocks like Avanti Feeds and Bajaj Finance to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'll take your query to Vikas and get a fundamental check whether these levels it's appropriate to add these stocks in the portfolio or not. Vikas, what do you think? Avanti Feeds and Bajaj Finance, are these the right stocks at current levels to be added in somebody's portfolio?
Yeah, Navneet, as far as both the stocks are concerned, they are also good quality stocks. As far as Bajaj Finance is concerned, it has generated tremendous wealth for its shareholders over a longer period of time. Buying into the stock at the current levels, I think since the investor has a long-term point of view, she should not be worried about a correction of 5 to 7% on the stock, which might come in because the stock has already run up, and if the market corrects for any reason, then we could see some fall in these kind of stocks also. But since she has a long-term horizon, I think she could be buying into the stock at the current levels also. And as far as Avanti Feeds is concerned, again, a good quality stock, and I see good prospects of the company in the near future or even in long term. So I would recommend a buy into Avanti Feeds also, but she might wait for the stock to correct a bit in line with say market correction as and when it happens. So she can start buying into Avanti Feeds, but in a staggered manner, which would mean that at every correction she could add on to whatever quantity she wants to buy.
All right. Ms. Chatterjee, I hope that answers your question. We've got another query coming on Facebook. Vivek Perti is asking for a one-year view on NBCC. Let's pull up the chart and see where it's trading. It's trading around the 89 rupee mark. It's down about 1% in trade. It's one stock that has seen significant correction in the year-to-date period, down about 28%. In fact, it's only about 5 rupees higher than its 52-week low at this point. Sameet, what's the view here? What are the charts indicating with regard to NBCC? One-year view.
See, before November 2017, this stock has been enjoying its strong bull run. The stock has already given a massive appreciation. But in last 5 to 6 months, the stock has corrected significantly from higher levels. However, we expect continuation of this underperformance at least in next 1.5 months, wherein the stock can go back to test its important levels of 80-75. But around 80 to 75, I would be a buyer. Time-wise position would be slightly difficult in this counter, but once the stock slides toward 80 to 75, that would make a good risk to reward ratio. So as an investor, I would rather look to go long around this important support zones.
Sameet, one more viewer, Deepak Bhanushali, is holding NBCC around the levels of 123, and since the stock is corrected and now trading around the levels of 89, what would you advise him to do?
Hold on, as I said, 80 to 75 seems to be a very strong support, and he has been holding probably since last many months. So downside seems limited, at least in the near term. So the stock might give a decent bounce back after retesting 80 to 76 zone. So hold on, but the stock might take some time, probably another 5 to 6 months to again come back to levels of 110, 120.
Okay, that's a hold coming in from NBCC. The stock's actually corrected if you look at it on YTD or the last 3 months return. Let's just pull up that, and that's going to tell you how we've seen that correction coming by. This year itself, as you can see, it's down almost 28%. Satish K. Neni on Facebook wants a view on Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. Satish, you've not written your query that clearly, but what I'm getting to understand from your messages, you bought 170 shares and now the current price is 10% lower than your buying price. So 966 is the current price. Let's just check with Mr. Vikas Sethi whether he likes the stock or not, since it's a recent listing that we've seen. Vikas, it didn't have a great listing also. I remember the issue price was somewhere between 12.15 to 12.40, and since then the stock's only been trading in the current territory what we've seen. So if somebody is bought the stocks around the level and from there it's corrected 10%, what would you advise them to do?
Yeah, Navneet, as far as Hindustan Aeronautics is concerned, a good quality company, although the stock has come far below from its issue price and has disappointed investors. But I think defense as a theme looks good with the government's focus on defense and with the Make in India campaign. I think these stocks would do well over a longer period of time. And since the investor has bought it from a long-term point of view, I think he could continue to hold on to it. And I'm sure his price would also come. And if he gives, say, 1.5 to 2 years to the stock, I think he would be making substantial gains in the stock. So my advice would be to hold on to the stock.
Right. Thanks, Vikas, for that. We've got a live caller on the show. Nand Kishore is calling us from Nagpur. Hi, Nand Kishore. How can we help you today?
Sir, actually, I want to know that the shares in my broker account, it's not showing still in holding account. So little bit I am worried about that whether if the company will delist it, then what will happen to my shares? That's I want to know.
Okay. Oh, so so essentially the question is what happens to his shares if the company delists and he doesn't opt for the...
Actually, Steel was an NCLT, and now that the deal has been closed and SEBI has given a go-ahead for the companies, you know, if you're acquiring those companies, if they are delisted, what happens to them? So basically, he's just worried. Nand Kishore, how many shares do you have it in your account?
1,95,600, madam, at the price of 1.17. 1.17.
1.17. Can you just pull up the current price and check?
It's not being traded.
It is not being traded, maybe because of you know, the NCLT issue. But let's check with Vikas actually. Vikas, he wants to know what happens if it gets delisted, and I guess it will be getting delisted. His buy price or average price, I would call it, is somewhere about 1.17. I don't know if you know, there were a lot of reports indicating that the actual price now for the shareholder will only be 90 paisa or something. I'm not too sure about it.
I remember
though.
that as well.
Yeah, Navneet, I do not closely track the stock, but then if it has happened like this, that he has bought into it and the stock would be delisted. So, but then that does not mean that the stock or the quantity which he owns will not be reflected in his Demat account. It should certainly be there in his Demat account, and it would not be traded, and he cannot do anything now. The stock cannot be sold because it is already delisted, and he has to just bear with the pain of holding on to the stock and just leave it for some day when things improve and things could come back. But as far as now it is concerned, I think since the stock has been delisted, he cannot do anything about it.
Nand Kishore, the usual procedure for delisting is the details will be coming out from the company with the delisting price. The shares will definitely be reflected in your account currently, and when you get those details, basically you have to tender those shares in the delisting process, and after that, when the shares are accepted by the company, you will be getting that money back in your account, and the shares obviously will be moving out of the account. Hope we tried answering your query today.
And if we get more clarity, we'll of course share with you, because I'm guessing that there will be a different strategy involved with regard to the insolvency cases.
It is the NCLT
insolvency cases. There will be assets that are acquired in all probability by another company. All right, let's move on and take another question on Facebook. Aditya Nair is asking about MCX India at the current levels. He's asking whether it makes sense for a long term. I think we should get both a technical idea about this as well as the fundamental. Sameet, with regard to the technicals of the MCX stock, how is it looking? It's seen significant correction over the past few months.
See, as a disclosure, we have been quite upbeat on this stock since last 1.5 months, and we have been recommending buying since the levels of 695, 700. So we have already recommended this to our client, and with a near-term view, our target would be somewhere around 870, 874. So one can hold on with a short-term view. The stock is clearly poised for a decent bounce back. Recently, there was a breakout from recent congestion zone somewhere around 780, 800 with sizable volumes. So that clearly indicates that the stock has come out of its consolidation phase, and it is likely to give decent up move now. It has been consolidating of late, but sooner or later we expect a breakout to happen beyond 860. So stay put from my end, keep a strict stop loss below 800.
All right, with regard to the technicals, the stop loss that is being indicated is 800, but I'm going to go across to Vikas as well, because the query is for a long-term holding of this particular stock. Minimum of 1 to 2 years is what Aditya is saying. What's your view on MCX, Vikas? Do you think that it makes sense to hold this for the long term?
Yeah, Alex, I feel so. It would certainly make sense to hold on to the stock, the current levels. The stock has corrected from its highs, and recently there were rumors that they could combine with BSC, and that could be a positive trigger. And then off and on, the exchange is trying to introduce new contracts which would increase volumes, and it enjoys monopoly as far as the commodities business is concerned. So I think long-term prospects are good, and the investor would be advised to continue to hold on to the stock.
Okay, that's the view coming in on these stocks. But let's move on and take Sandeep Joshi's query. He wants some advice on Wiseman Forex. Now, I just want to remind our viewers, this counter has been really volatile on year-to-date basis. We've seen correction of 60%. I'm not too sure if it's under the additional surveillance measures list of the stock exchanges, but he's bought 100 shares around 950 rupees, and he has a 2-year horizon. And also, I think recently the board met on June 4th, and they have approved the buyback of nearly 4,36,000 shares. So 4,36,467 shares, but no respite after such news of buyback. We've seen that in the case of PC Jewelers, we've seen in the case of Akrangri, despite of buyback news, the stock continues to correct. Vikas, Wiseman Forex, we don't talk about the stock much. Somebody's bought around the levels of 950, willing to hold on for 2 years. The stock's corrected sharply. What would the advice be?
Yeah, Navneet, I do not track the stock very closely, but my advice would be to get out of the stock. There are better opportunities available in the market. Buybacks in such kind of stocks would not work, as we've seen in the case of PC Jewelers and the likes. So my clear advice would be to sell the stock, book his losses, and switch to some other good quality stock or company.
All right, we've got Arvind Kumar writing in on Facebook. He's got 3 companies that he's identified. Marksans Pharma, and we can pull up the stocks while we're saying it. Marksans Pharma, Suzlon, and Ratan Power. Suzlon particularly has seen a lot of interest, just like the last stock that Navneet was talking about, Wiseman Forex. It hasn't really moved anywhere though in the recent past. I'm still going to take these stocks across to Sameet. Sameet, do you recommend entering any one of these stocks, and also of course the viewer wants to hold for a little longer period of time?
See, generally, this low ticket size counter looks quite attractive, but I would rather ask him to avoid such counters if he has to get into any pharmaceutical space. Since he has mentioned Marksans Pharma, I would rather recommend stocks like Lupin, which has after a long underperformance, the stock has managed to give a decent bounce back in the recent past. So it appears that the stock has already bottomed out around 750, 760, and in the last 3-4 days it has already rallied quite a lot. So use any dip from current level probably towards 840, 835 to go long in this counter. Instead of Marksans Pharma, I would rather pick Lupin, and I expect this stock to head higher from current level 940, 950. These are the next levels to watch out for.
Okay, so Lupin is a preferred bet compared to Marksans Pharma in the Pharma pack. We've got a caller online named Joshua Anand, who calls us from Bengaluru. Hi Joshua, thanks a lot for calling us. Tell us what's your query on.
Hi, I bought Himadri Specialty Chemicals 6 months back, 600 shares at 170 each. My time frame is 5 years. What should be my strategy right now? And one more query is it the right time to enter Granules India?
Right time to enter Granules India. So let's take Granules India first, because that's been buzzing, I guess, in the recent past. Sameet, I'll come to you for Granules. The stock's already gone up. I think in the last 5 to 6 trading sessions, it's been going higher. I've been monitoring the derivatives data. There are some fresh long positions being taken here. Do you think it's the right level for Joshua to enter this stock?
See, within pharma space, I've already mentioned my preference, which is Lupin. Probably, another stock to watch out for would be around, which is Dr. Reddy or something like Sun Pharma. But as far as, Granules India is concerned, yes, the stock has corrected significantly from higher level. There's a strong support around 70, 75, and recently the stock managed to found support around those levels and has given a decent bounce back since then. So I would rather wait for a decent dip to happen from current level. 80 to 78 would make a good risk to reward ratio. So I would rather go long somewhere around 80, and I would start accumulating in a staggered manner. Any dip from those levels would be a good buying opportunity. 70, according to us, should act as a very strong support, and in the near term the stock is poised for a decent move, probably towards say 96 to 100.
Okay, so Joshua, that's the technical advice coming in on Granules. Probably you can look to accumulate the stock in a staggered manner if it corrects to levels of 80. The support which is being highlighted by Sameet is somewhere about 70. But your other query was in Himadri Speciality, where you bought 600 shares at a price of 170, and you do have a good time horizon of 5 years. The current price is 135. Vikas, Himadri Speciality, what would you advise Joshua to do? The stock's corrected, but he's willing to hold on for the next 5 years, and we've seen these chemical and specialty companies doing pretty well in the recent past.
Yeah, Navneet, as far as Himadri Chemicals is concerned, the stock has been a 10-bagger over the last 2 years. This company is a leading producer of coal tar and some advanced carbon, which is used in the lithium-ion batteries which are required for electric vehicles. So the prospects look very promising, because of the tremendous opportunities which electric vehicle segment would be having in the years to come. So I like the stock, although the investor has bought it at a higher level at somewhere around its peak, I suppose. And from there, he's sitting on some losses, but I think since he has a very, very long-term horizon, I think he could continue to hold on to Himadri Chemicals, and I think we could see certainly levels of around 250 rupees on the stock in about 1.5 to 2 years' time.
All right, I'm going to try and slip in one more question now. Ankit Mishra is asking for a 6-month view on Motilal Oswal. He's holding 100 shares that he bought at 1,160. Since then, the stock has corrected significantly. It's currently trading just below that 900 mark. It's down about 0.6% in trade today. Sameet, 6-month view, what is the chart indicating?
See, I'll not be able to give any recommendation on this counter, but considering the recent price action, the stock has corrected significantly. There's a strong support around 850, so as of now, we can hold on with a stop loss of 850.
Hold on with a stop loss of 850 on Motilal Oswal. Remember, the stock's come off quite sharply from the highs that we've seen, which were around 1400 or 1450. But on that note, I'd like to thank all our viewers for writing in their queries to us, and also I want to thank Sameet and Vikas for joining us today and helping our viewers with their queries. Well, that's all that we have on this edition of Ask Weekly.
But do remember, as always, we're just a tweet, post or call away. So do keep your queries coming, and we promise to address as many of them as possible on our shows. You can also log on to the website bloombergquint.com and search for the hashtag AskBQ and get all the answers to the queries that were discussed today. Up next on Bloomberg Quint Live is Power Lunch.